You just checked your bank account. There's a number there that doesn't make sense. You blink. You refresh the page. You count the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. $1 billion. It's sitting there in your account. Real money. Not monopoly money, not some glitch in the matrix, not a fever dream induced by eating gas station sushi. $1,000 million. A 1 followed by 9 zeros. Enough money that if you tried to count to a billion, counting one number per second, it would take you 32 years. Now your brain is probably short-circuiting right now trying to comprehend what this actually means, and that's completely normal, because the human brain literally did not evolve to understand numbers this large. Our ancestors needed to know the difference between one saber-toothed tiger and two saber-toothed tigers. They did not need to conceptualize a billion of anything. So let me put this in perspective for you. If you spent $10,000 every single day, and I mean literally living like an absolute maniac, buying ridiculous things, making it rain in expensive clubs, purchasing diamond-encrusted toothbrushes, it would take you 274 years to run out of money. You'd outlive your great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren's money-spending spree. But here's where it gets interesting. Most people, when they think about having $1 billion, they think small. They think about buying a mansion, a yacht, maybe a private jet. Sure, you could do all that, but that's using a nuclear weapon to light a candle. That's using a supercomputer to play solitaire. That's bringing a flamethrower to toast bread. $1 billion isn't just rich person money. It's reshape reality money. It's become a small nation money. It's make things happen that literally did not exist before money. So today, we're going to explore what you can actually do with $1 billion. Not the boring stuff, not just buy expensive things. We're talking about the truly wild, absolutely unhinged, theoretically possible, definitely inadvisable things you could accomplish with this amount of wealth. We're going to buy countries. We're going to solve problems. We're going to create chaos. We're going to answer questions nobody asked but everybody secretly wondered about. We're going to push the absolute limits of what money can theoretically accomplish in the modern world. Because here's the thing about having $1 billion. The question isn't what can you buy? The question is what can't you buy? And the answer to that second question is surprisingly short. So buckle up. Dismiss any sense of financial responsibility. Forget everything you learned about budgeting and saving for retirement. We're about to go on a spending spree that would make oligarchs nervous and financial advisors weep. Welcome to the $1 billion playground. Let's see what kind of trouble we can get into. Part 1. The Real. Estate Insanity. Chapter 1. You could buy a small country. Literally. Let's start with something that sounds like a joke but is actually completely feasible. Buying your own country. Now, I don't mean invading a nation and declaring yourself emperor. I mean actually purchasing sovereign territory through perfectly legal means. Because yes, this is a thing you can do. Countries are for sale. Not many, but some. And with $1 billion, you're in the market. Let me introduce you to the Principality of Sealand. This is a genuine, self-declared sovereign state located on a former World War II sea fort off the coast of England. It's about the size of 2 tennis courts. It has its own flag, its own currency, its own royal family, and its own dramatic history involving helicopter raids and hostage situations. Seriously, look it up. Sealand has been for sale at various points, with asking prices ranging from $750 million to $900 million. So right there, you could purchase an actual country, admittedly a tiny, weird country on a rusty platform in the ocean, but a country nonetheless, and still have $100 to $250 million left over for renovations and maybe a helicopter. But maybe you want actual land? Let me tell you about Villa World. In 2009, the entire Polynesian island of Nukutapipi was listed for sale for $13 million. That's a full island with beaches, lagoons, and coconut trees. You could buy 76 of these islands and still have money left over. Or consider this, the entire country of Liechtenstein, yes, the actual European nation, has offered itself for rent at $70,000 per night. For your $1 billion, you could rent the entire country for approximately 14,285 nights, which is about 39 years. You could rent a whole country for nearly 4 decades. But let's think bigger. Instead of buying one country, why not build your own? Chapter 2. Building your island nation. Creating an artificial island nation is completely possible. With $1 billion, and several people have seriously attempted it, the Seasteading Institute has been working on designs for floating cities in international waters. Their proposed platforms would cost between $10 to $15 million each. You could build 66 to 100 of these platforms, creating a floating city of potentially 10,000 plus residents. You'd need to think about infrastructure, desalination plants for fresh water, $50 to $100 million, waste treatment facilities, $30 to $50 million, renewable energy systems, solar panels, wind turbines, maybe even experimental wave energy converters, $100 to $200 million for a comprehensive system. You'd need boats, helicopters, maybe even a small airport if your island is large enough, $50 to $100 million for a basic fleet. But here's where it gets fun. As the founder of a new nation, you get to write the laws. Want to make Tuesdays a mandatory nap day? Done. Want to declare pizza a vegetable? Your country, your rules. Want to make it illegal to use Comic Sans? Finally, someone's doing it. You'd need to negotiate recognition from other nations, which is politically complex, but not impossible. You'd need to establish trade relationships, probably get some kind of internet connectivity. Undersea cables are expensive but doable, at around $100 to $300 million depending on distance. The realistic budget for creating a small but functional island nation, approximately $500 to $700 million, leaving you with $300 to $500 million for operations, development, and the inevitable problems that arise when you realize governing a nation is actually really difficult. Chapter 3. The Real Estate Empire. Okay, maybe creating your own nation seems too complicated. Let's talk about buying property in existing countries, but on an absolutely absurd scale. With $1 billion, you could buy approximately 200 to 250 average American homes, at the current median price around $400 to $450,000. But why be average? You could buy the most expensive home ever sold in America, a $238 million penthouse in New York, and still have $762 million left over. Or you could buy the top 10 most expensive homes in America and create a portfolio of absolute mega mansions across the country. But here's a more interesting approach: buying an entire town. The town of Nipton, California was on sale for $5 million. You could buy 200 entire towns. Imagine owning 200 towns scattered across America. You'd be like a real-world Monopoly player who actually bought everything. Or consider Gary Hinch in Ireland, which sold for about $3 million. That's 333 Irish villages. You could repopulate them with artists, create interconnected communities, build a network of creative spaces across the Irish countryside. But let's think even bigger. Skyscrapers. The Willis Tower, formerly Sears Tower, in Chicago sold for $1.3 billion in 2004. With inflation, let's say, it would cost around $2 billion today. Okay, that's out of budget. But the sales force. Tower in San Francisco, one of the most expensive buildings in the world, cost about $1.1 billion to build. So you could almost build one of the world's most impressive skyscrapers from scratch. Almost. You'd need to cheap out on the finishes, maybe skip the gold-plated toilets, use regular marble instead of the expensive marble. Economize. Chapter 4. The Vacation Home Situation. Let's talk vacation homes, but make it ridiculous. Normal wealthy people have maybe 2 or 3 vacation homes. You could have 365 vacation homes, a different house for every single day of the year. Spend $2.7 million per property, which gets you something quite nice in most places, and you'd have a year-long global tour of your own properties. January 1st in a beach house in Malibu, January 2nd in a mountain chalet in Switzerland, January 3rd in a villa in Tuscany. Never spend 2 consecutive nights in the same property. The logistics would be insane. You'd need staff at each property. Let's say 2 people per house at $50,000 per year each. That's $36.5 million annually just in staffing. Property maintenance, utilities, property taxes, probably another $50 to $100 million per year. But here's the thing. You'd still be making money. $1 billion, even just sitting in a basic savings account at 2% interest, generates $20 million per year. Invested properly in a diversified portfolio averaging 7% returns, You're looking at $70 million annually, so you could maintain this absolutely absurd 365 property empire, never stay in the same place twice, employ 730 people, and still be making money. Chapter 5. Buying every stadium. Experienced sports fan? Let's talk about buying every single premium sports experience available. Super Bowl tickets in a luxury suite, approximately $400,000. You could go to the Super Bowl in a luxury suite for the next 2,500 years. Your descendants in the year 4,500 would still have tickets. But why stop there? Seasons. Tickets for every major American sports team. NBA courtside seats average about $3,000 per game. With 41 home games, that's $123,000 per season per team. All 30 NBA teams, $3.69 million per year. NFL luxury suite season tickets, approximately $200,000 to $500,000 per year depending on the team. All 32 teams at an average of $350,000, $11.2 million per year. MLB premium season tickets, approximately $100,000 per season. All 30 teams, $3 million per year. NHL premium season tickets, approximately $75,000 per season. All 32 teams, $2.4 million per year. Total annual cost for premium season tickets to every team in the 4 major American sports leagues, approximately $20.3 million. You could maintain this for about 49 years before running out of money, except you wouldn't run out because, again, your money is making money. But here's the kicker. You physically cannot attend all these games. There aren't enough hours in the year, so you just own all these tickets and give them away. Or let them sit empty, which is perhaps the most absurd flex imaginable. Oh, you're going to the game tonight? Yeah, those are my seats. I own them. No, I won't be there. I'll be at one of my other 164 sporting events happening simultaneously across the country. Chapter 6. The Hotel Empire Strategy. Instead of buying homes, what if you just never bought a home again? What if you lived in hotels forever? The average 5-star hotel room costs about $500 per night. That's $182,500 per year. You could live in 5-star luxury hotels for 5,479 years. But let's upgrade. Presidential suites at top hotels average $5,000 to $10,000 per night. Let's say $7,500. That's $2.7375 million per year. You could live in presidential suites for 365 years. Or here's a wild strategy. Buy the hotels. A mid-sized boutique hotel might cost $10 to $30 million. You could buy 33 to 100 boutique hotels worldwide, live in a different one each week, and rent out the other rooms for income. A really nice boutique hotel might generate $2 to $5 million in annual profit. Own 50 hotels generating an average of $3 million each, and you're bringing in $150 million per year. You've basically created a self-sustaining hotel empire that funds your lifestyle of living in a different luxury hotel every week. You'd never do laundry again, never clean, never cook unless you want to. Every day someone makes your bed, brings you food, fixes any problems. You're basically living like royalty, except instead of one palace, you have 50 hotels scattered across the globe. Part 2. The Transportation Madness. Chapter 7. The Private Jet Situation. Let's talk about private aviation because this is where rich people money turns into stupid money. A decent private jet, something like a Gulfstream G650, costs about $65 million. You could buy 15 of them. Why would you need 15 private jets? You wouldn't, but you could have them. Here's a better question. What if you just chartered private jets instead of buying them? Private jet charters cost approximately $5,000 to $10,000 per flight hour, depending on the aircraft. Let's say $7,500 average. You could charter private jets for 133,333 flight hours. The average private flight is about 2 to 3 hours. Let's say 2.5 hours. That's 53,333 individual private flights. If you took one private flight every single day, you'd run out after 146 years. But here's the move. Buy one really nice jet for personal use, $65 million, then charter the rest when needed. Use the remaining $935 million for everything else. Or, hear me out, buy a commercial airliner. A brand new Boeing 737 costs about $90 to $100 million. You could buy one, customize the interior into the most absurd flying palace imaginable. Bedrooms, bathrooms with showers, full kitchen, entertainment systems, maybe a hot tub. Weight distribution might be an issue, but let's not worry about that, and still have $850 million left. You'd need pilots, about $200,000 per year for a crew, maintenance, roughly $1 to $3 million annually, fuel, approximately $2 to $5 million per year depending on usage, hangar fees, insurance, let's call it $10 million per year all in. You could operate your personal 737 for 85 years. Your great-grandchildren would inherit a plane. Chapter 8. The Yacht Game. If we're talking stupid expensive transportation, we have to talk yachts. A super yacht, and I mean a proper one, 200 plus feet, costs anywhere from $150 to $400 million. You could buy 2 or 3 super yachts, which is objectively insane because you can only be on one at a time. But here's what's even crazier, the operating costs. A super yacht costs approximately 10% of its purchase price annually to operate. A $300 million yacht costs $30 million per year to maintain, staff, fuel, and dock. You could operate a $300 million super yacht for about 23 years before running out of money, except, again, your money is making money, so if you invest the remaining $700 million wisely, you could probably operate it indefinitely. But why have just a yacht when you could have a submarine? Personal submarines exist. They're not cheap, but they exist. A high-end personal submarine costs about $2 to $5 million. You could buy 200 to 500 personal submarines. Why would anyone need 500 submarines? They wouldn't, but imagine showing up to a harbor and just having a fleet of submarines. People would be so confused. Is that a naval exercise? No, that's just Jerry. He bought submarines. Chapter 9. The Car Collection. Let's talk cars, but make it absolutely unhinged. The most expensive car ever sold at auction was a 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO for $48.4 million. You could buy 20 of the world's most expensive cars and still have money left over, or you could buy one of every car currently in production. There are approximately 400 different car models available globally. Average price of a new car is about $48,000. That's $19.2 million for one of every car model in the world. But that's not fun enough. Let's buy 100 of the most expensive cars available. Bugatti Chiron Supersport, $3.9 million. Buy 10 of them, $39 million. Pagani Huayra, $2.6 million. Buy 10, $26 million. Koenigsegg Jesko, $3 million. Buy 10, $30 million. Rolls-Royce Phantom, $450,000. Buy 20, $9 million. Lamborghini Aventador SVJ, $517,000. Buy 20, $10.34 million. Ferrari SF90 Stradale, $625,000. Buy 20, $12.5 million. McLaren Speedtail, $2.25 million. Buy 10, $22.5 million. Total, $149.34 million for 100 of the world's most exotic cars. But now you need somewhere to store them. A custom garage that can house 100 cars with proper climate control, security, and maintenance facilities. Approximately $20 to $30 million. And you need someone to maintain them. A staff of mechanics, detailers, and security, probably $2 to $3 million per year. You'd have the world's most impressive car collection for about $180 to $200 million all in, leaving you with $800 million for other absurdities. Chapter 10, The Train Situation. Okay, this one is weird, but stay with me. What if you bought a train, not a toy train, a real train, a luxury private train? The Maharajas Express in India, one of the world's most luxurious trains, cost approximately $25 million to build. You could commission 4 similar trains, or you could buy old train cars and restore them. Vintage luxury train cars can be purchased for $50,000 to $500,000 each depending on condition. Buy 20 to 30 cars, spend $10 to $20 million on restoration, and you'd have your own private luxury train. But here's where it gets interesting. You could actually use it. Rail companies will let you attach private cars to their trains for a fee. You could travel across America or Europe in your own private train car, detaching and attaching to different routes. The ultimate road trip, except it's a rail trip and your vehicle is a restored 1920s luxury rail car with mahogany paneling and a full bar. People would lose their minds. You'd roll into Denver attached to the back of a commercial train, just sitting in your private luxury car, sipping champagne like it's 1925. Chapter 11. The Everything Else Transportation. We've covered jets, yachts, cars, and trains. What's left? Helicopters. A nice helicopter costs $3 to $15 million. Buy 3 different ones for different purposes. A small one for quick trips, $3 million. A medium one for regional travel, $8 million. And a large luxury one for showing off, $15 million. Total, $26 million. Hot air balloons. A custom luxury hot air balloon costs about $30,000 to $100,000. Buy 100 of them for $5 million. Why? Because imagine having a fleet of 100 hot air balloons, just because. Recreational vehicles. A top-of-the-line RV costs about $500,000 to $2 million. Buy 10 luxury RVs for $10 million and station them at various scenic locations across the country. Road trip whenever you want. Boats. Not yachts. Have a speedboat, a fishing boat, a sailboat, a catamaran at every coastal property you own, about $50,000 to $300,000 per boat, multiply by however many properties on water, maybe $20 to $30 million total. Vintage vehicles. Buy a collection of historically significant vehicles. First production models, presidential limousines, movie cars, another $50 to $100 million. Spacecraft seat. You can't buy a spacecraft yet, but you can buy a seat. SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic offer space tourism. Current prices are around $200,000 to $500,000 per seat. Book 2,000 to 5,000 trips to space for you and everyone you know. Actually, that's only $1 billion total if you do the maximum, so maybe book 1,000 trips to space for $300 million, leaving money for everything else. The point is, you could have every form of transportation humanity has invented, except spacecraft ownership. We're working on that, and you'd still have hundreds of millions left over. You could literally wake up every day and decide, do I feel like taking my private jet, my yacht, my vintage Ferrari, my helicopter, my luxury train car, my hot air balloon, or my submarine today? And the answer could be yes to all of them, because you own all of them, and you can do whatever you want. Part 3. The Experiences and Insanity. Chapter 12. Dining like an absolute maniac. Let's talk about food, because eating is something you do every day, and with $1 billion, you could make it absolutely ridiculous. The most expensive restaurant in the world is Sublimotion in Ibiza, Spain. A meal costs approximately $2,000 to $2,500 per person. You could eat there every single day for 400,000 days, which is 1,095 years. But why limit yourself to one restaurant? Let's eat at the world's 50 best restaurants in rotation. The average meal at a 3 Michelin star restaurant costs about $300 to $800 per person. Let's say $500 average. Eating at top restaurants every single day, $182,500 per year. You could maintain this for 5,479 years. But let's make it weirder. What if you hired the chefs? A world-class private chef costs about $100,000 to $200,000 per year. You could hire 5,000 to 10,000 world-class chefs. You wouldn't do this because that's insane, but you could. More realistically, hire 10 to 20 rotating chefs, each specializing in different cuisines: Japanese, French, Italian, Mexican, Thai, Indian, Ethiopian, Brazilian, etc. Pay them $150,000 each per year, $3 million annually. Have a different chef prepare each meal. Never eat the same cuisine 2 days in a row. Live like an emperor with a rotating cast of culinary artists. Or here's a power move: buy restaurants. A successful restaurant might cost $2 to $10 million to buy. You could buy 100 to 500 restaurants, create an international dining empire, and eat for free at your own establishments forever. Make them really weird and specific. A restaurant that only serves breakfast foods, but it's open 24/7 and everything is covered in gold leaf. A restaurant that only serves foods that are perfectly spherical. A restaurant where everything is blue, just absolute chaos. Chapter 13. The Entertainment Excess Private Concerts. Let's talk private concerts. Booking a major artist for a private performance costs anywhere from $500,000 to $5 million plus, depending on the artist. Let's say $2 million average for A-list performers. You could book 500 private concerts, have Beyoncé perform in your living room, have Paul McCartney play your birthday party, have Taylor Swift do a concert for just you and your friends, one concert per week for 9.6 years straight, just constant private performances by the world's biggest artists, or book multiple artists for festivals, create your own personal Coachella with your favorite lineup, do it annually, spend $50 million per year on your personal music festival. But why stop at music? Hire comedians for private shows, book entire comedy tours for just you. Dave Chappelle costs about $500,000 for a private show. Book him once a month for $6 million per year. Hire magicians, hire acrobats, hire Cirque du Soleil for a private performance. Cirque charges about $1 to $2 million for private corporate events. Create a never-ending entertainment schedule where something amazing is happening every single day. Monday, private concert by a major pop star. Tuesday, stand-up comedy show with multiple comedians. Wednesday, Cirque du Soleil performance. Thursday, private screening of a new movie with the director and actors present. Friday, classical orchestra performance. Saturday, Broadway show performed just for you. Sunday, rest day, or another private concert, your call. Annual cost, probably $100 to $200 million. You could maintain this lifestyle for 5 to 10 years before running out of money, except investments would be generating returns, so you could probably sustain it indefinitely with proper financial planning. Part 3, The Experiences and Insanity. Chapter 14, The Sports Ownership Dream. Forget watching. Sports. Let's talk about owning sports. An NBA team costs approximately $1.5 to $3 billion on average. Okay, that's over budget for most teams, but the Memphis Grizzlies sold for $1.3 billion in 2012. With inflation and market growth, you're looking at maybe $1.8 to $2 billion today, still over budget. But, and this is important, you could buy a minority stake in a team. A 30 to 40% ownership stake in an NBA team would cost around $400 to $700 million. You wouldn't have majority control, but you'd be an owner. You'd get the championship ring if your team wins. You'd have a say in decisions. You'd attend owners' meetings or go for smaller leagues. An NWSL team, professional women's soccer, costs about $2 to $5 million. You could own 200 to 500 professional soccer teams. Create an international network of women's soccer clubs. Revolutionize the sport through sheer financial power. Minor league baseball teams cost $5 to $30 million. Buy 33 to 200 minor league teams. Control the entire minor league system. Become a kingmaker in baseball development. Or create your own league. The XFL reboot cost about $500 million. You could create 2 entirely new professional sports leagues with that budget. Start the International Basketball League, teams in every continent. Start the Global Hockey Federation. Create the World Extreme Sports League where people do parkour while playing basketball or something equally ridiculous. Chapter 15, The Movie Industry Power Move. Let's talk Hollywood, because entertainment is expensive and you have the money. The average Hollywood blockbuster costs $200 to $350 million to produce and market. You could fund 3 to 5 major films. Not just executive produce, fully fund them. Have complete creative control. Make the movies you want to see. Always wanted a historically accurate movie about the Mongol Empire with a $300 million budget? Fund it. Want a gritty, realistic space opera that actually respects physics? Make it happen. Want a shot-for-shot remake of The Room with A-list actors and a massive budget? Absolutely do this. Or start your own production company, build a studio, buy equipment, hire staff, develop projects. A mid-size production company with facilities, equipment, and staff might cost $100 to $200 million to establish. You could then produce 10 to 20 independent films at $10 to $20 million each. Create an artistic film empire, buy a movie theater chain. A small regional chain might cost $50 to $150 million. Show whatever you want. Have premiere screenings. Make one theater that only shows your favorite movie on repeat. Turn another into an exclusive venue for experimental cinema. Or here's a power move. Buy the rights to your favorite franchises and make the sequels you actually want. Film rights are complicated, but if you approach studios with enough money, things become possible. Want to make a proper Firefly sequel? A faithful Aragon remake? The correct ending to Game of Thrones? Throw money at it until it happens. Chapter 16. The Education Takeover. This one's actually wholesome compared to the others, but let's talk education. Building a state-of-the-art school costs approximately $30 to $50 million. You could build 20 to 33 incredible schools with world-class facilities, technology, and resources. But let's think bigger. Start a university. Creating a new university from scratch costs approximately $500 million to $1 billion for land, buildings, equipment, initial endowment, and accreditation. You could create one amazing university with your entire billion. But that's not as fun as creating 50 smaller specialized schools, so let's do that instead. Create schools that focus on unique combinations: a school of artificial intelligence and ethics, a school of marine biology and engineering, a school of philosophy and computer science. Make them all tuition-free. Each school costs about $20 million to establish and $2 to $5 million per year to operate. 50 schools, $1 billion to establish, $150 million per year to operate. You can't sustain the operations forever, but you could run them for 6 to 7 years, and in that time, establish them well enough to attract donors, grants, and develop sustainable funding models. Or take a different approach, pay for students. The average American has about $30,000 in student loan debt. You could pay off the student loans for 33,333 people. Just wipe out the debt for an entire small city's worth of graduates. Or fund full-ride scholarships. A full 4-year scholarship to a good university costs about $200,000 to $300,000. You could provide full scholarships to 3,333 to 5,000 students, create the You Got $1 Billion scholarship program, and just send thousands of kids to college for free. Chapter 17, the technology investments. Let's pivot to tech, because this is where you could actually make more money instead of just spending it. Starting a tech company from scratch with $1 billion budget would make you one of the best funded startups in history. For context, Facebook raised $500 million before IPO. Instagram was acquired for $1 billion. WhatsApp was acquired for $19 billion, but started with much less. You could fully fund development of a new social media platform with the best engineers, designers, and marketing, $200 to $300 million. A revolutionary AI company with massive compute resources and top researchers, $300 to $400 million. A biotech firm working on longevity research, $200 to $300 million. A clean energy company developing new solar or battery technology, $200 to $300 million. Run all 4 simultaneously. Create a diversified tech empire. Even if 3 fail, one massive success could turn your billion into 10 billion. Or take a different approach. Buy existing companies. Smaller tech companies sell for $10 to $500 million depending on size and revenue. You could acquire 10 to 20 promising startups, provide them resources, and build a tech conglomerate. Buy a social media company, a gaming studio, a SaaS platform, an AI startup, and a hardware manufacturer. Create a vertically integrated tech ecosystem. Chapter 18. The space race entry space is expensive, but with $1 billion, you can actually participate. SpaceX spent about $1 billion developing the Falcon 9 rocket. You could fund development of your own orbital rocket. You wouldn't beat SpaceX, they have more funding and a head start, but you could participate in the new space race, or fund specific space projects, asteroid mining research and development, $200 to $300 million. Lunar base prototype development, $300 to $400 million. Mars habitat testing, $200 to $300 million. Space debris cleanup technology, $100 to $200 million. Partner with existing space agencies and companies. Become a serious player in space commerce. Or take the ego approach. Put your name on everything. Fund a Mars rover, $200 to $300 million. It's called the Your Name rover. Fund a space telescope, $400 to $600 million. The Your Name Space Telescope. People will remember you forever because your name is literally on space equipment. Chapter 19. The charitable impact. Okay, let's talk about actually helping people, because you could make a massive difference. Malaria nets cost about $5 each and save lives. You could buy 200 million malaria nets. The Against Malaria Foundation estimates that distributing these nets could save approximately 100,000 lives. Clean water wells cost about $5,000 to $15,000 each. You could build 66,666 to 200,000 wells, providing clean water to millions of people. Feeding America estimates $1 provides 10 meals. You could provide 10 billion meals. That's enough to feed every food insecure person in America for almost 2 years. You could eliminate homelessness in multiple cities. Building supportive housing costs about $200,000 to $400,000 per unit. You could create 2,500 to 5,000 housing units with full support services. Fund medical research. The average medical research grant is $500,000. You could fund 2,000 research projects. Accelerate cures for diseases. Maybe your funding leads to the breakthrough for Alzheimer's, cancer, or rare genetic diseases. Or take a focused approach. Completely solve one specific problem. Want to eliminate guinea worm disease forever? The Carter Center has nearly done this with a fraction of $1 billion. Fully fund their program and eradicate a disease from human history. Your name would be associated with eliminating human suffering forever. Want to save a species? Fund comprehensive protection for critically endangered species. Hire rangers, create protected habitats, fund breeding programs, save elephants, rhinos, or gorillas from extinction. Chapter 20. The Personal Staff Empire. Let's talk about hiring people, because with $1 billion, you could employ a small army. Personal staff for ultra-wealthy individuals might include executive assistant, $100,000 per year, personal chef, $150,000 per year, private driver, $75,000 per year, personal trainer, $100,000 per year, personal physician, $300,000 per year, lawyer on retainer, $500,000 per year, accountant/financial manager, $300,000 per year, security team, 4 people, $400,000 per year, house staff, cleaning, maintenance, $200,000 per year, personal stylist, $100,000 per year, social media manager, $80,000 per year, travel coordinator, $90,000 per year. Total annual cost for comprehensive personal staff, about $2.5 to $3 million per year. You could maintain this level of personal service for 333 years. But let's get weird with it. Hire specialists. A personal meteorologist who gives you private weather forecasts, $120,000 per year. A professional taste tester to ensure nothing's poisoned, $60,000 per year. A live-in DJ for personal soundtrack music, $100,000 per year. A personal historian to document your life, $80,000 per year. A private teacher to learn new skills continuously, $100,000 per year. A professional gift giver who finds perfect presents for everyone, $70,000 per year. A nightmare consultant to analyze your dreams, $50,000 per year. This seems made up, but sure. Someone whose job is just to agree with you, $40,000 per year. Someone whose job is to disagree with you and keep you grounded, $100,000 per year, worth more because it's harder. Create the most absurdly specialized staff in human history. Part 4. The Ridiculous Purchases. Chapter 21. The Collector's Paradise. Let's talk about collecting things, because rich people love collecting things, and you could take it to an absolutely absurd level. Art collecting. The most expensive painting ever sold was Da Vinci's Salvator Mundi for $450 million. You could buy that and one other moderately expensive masterpiece, or buy 1,000 paintings at $1 million each. Create a private museum with an incredible collection, works by Picasso, Monet, Van Gogh, contemporary artists, a comprehensive art collection spanning centuries. Rare books. A Gutenberg Bible costs about $20 to $35 million. First edition. Shakespeare folios, $10 million. Original Audubon bird prints, $1 to $8 million each. You could build one of the world's finest rare book collections for $200 to $300 million. Every significant work in Western literature in first edition in your private library. Vintage wines. A bottle of 1945 Romanée Conti sold for $558,000. The world's most expensive wines cost $10,000 to $500,000 per bottle. You could build a wine cellar with 10,000 bottles of the world's finest wines for $50 to $100 million. Never drink the same wine twice. Have legendary vintages from every significant year and vineyard. Classic cars, we touched on this, but let's go deeper. Every significant car from automotive history. The first Ford Model T, a Tucker 48, a Duesenberg, every generation of Corvette, Mustang, and Porsche 911. Create a comprehensive automotive museum showing the evolution of car design and technology. Cost $100 to $200 million for a truly comprehensive collection. Meteorites. Yes, you can buy meteorites. A Martian meteorite costs about $500 to $1,000 per gram. A kilogramo Martian meteorite, $500,000 to $1 million. You could own rocks from Mars, the Moon, asteroids, and various comets. Create a personal space rock collection for $10 to $20 million. Chapter 22. The Weird Purchases. Now, let's talk about buying things that are just strange. Buy a dinosaur skeleton. A complete T-Rex skeleton sold for $31.8 million. You could buy one and just have it in your house, in your living room. A full T-Rex skeleton. Oh, that's just my Tyrannosaurus Rex. Named him Trevor. Buy historical artifacts. Napoleon's hat sold for $2 million. Lincoln's pocket watch, $1.5 million. Einstein's personal letters, $500,000. You could create a personal museum of history with artifacts from every significant era and figure. Ancient Egyptian artifacts, Roman coins, medieval armor, Renaissance manuscripts, Revolutionary War items, World War II memorabilia. Total cost for an incredible historical collection, $100 to $200 million. Buy domain names. Premium domain names sell for millions. Sex.com sold for $13 million. Insurance.com for $35.6 million. You could buy hundreds of premium domains and either develop them into businesses or just sit on them watching their value increase. Buy a lighthouse. Decommissioned lighthouses sell for $10,000 to $1 million. Buy 100 to 1,000 lighthouses. Live in a different lighthouse each week. Why? Because you can. Because it's weird. Because imagine telling people you own 500 lighthouses. Buy cursed objects. There's a market for allegedly cursed or haunted items. Buy every supposedly cursed object on eBay. Create a museum of cursed artifacts. See what happens. Probably nothing happens because curses aren't real, but imagine if they are, and you've just concentrated all of human curses in one location. Terrible idea. Do it anyway. Chapter 23. The Experience Purchases. Some things aren't objects, they're experiences. Let's buy those. Climb Mount Everest. A fully guided Everest expedition costs about $30,000 to $100,000. But you could do it in absolute luxury. Hire the best guides, the best equipment, have supplies helicoptered to camps, spend $500,000 on the most luxurious Everest climb possible, then do it for the other 7 summits, the highest peak on each continent. Total, $3 to $4 million for ultra-luxury mountain climbing. Go to space. We mentioned this, but let's elaborate. Current space tourism costs $200,000 to $500,000. Book flights on SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic. Experience all 3. $1.5 million total. Then book future lunar tourism when it becomes available. Projected $150 to $200 million per seat. Okay, that's too expensive. Skip the moon. Just do orbital tourism multiple times. Dive to the Titanic. A dive to the Titanic costs about $250,000. Do it annually. Spend $25 million over 100 years, visiting the Titanic repeatedly until it fully disintegrates. Antarctic expedition. A luxury Antarctic expedition costs $20,000 to $100,000. Do it in ultimate luxury with a private yacht and research team. Spend $5 million on comprehensive Antarctic exploration, Amazon rainforest expedition. Hire indigenous guides, scientists, and documentarians. Spend 6 months exploring the Amazon in depth. Cost $2 to $3 million. Live with different cultures. Spend a year each living with nomadic tribes, remote island communities, Arctic peoples. Fund cultural exchange and anthropological research while having incredible experiences. Cost $10 to $20 million over many years. Chapter 24. The Gaming Setup. Gamers with unlimited money would create something spectacular. Build the ultimate gaming room. 200-inch curved screen, $100,000. The best possible PC, $50,000. Every console ever made, $20,000. Every game ever released, $500,000 for a complete collection. Professional gaming chairs, $10,000. Custom lighting and sound system, $100,000. Total, under $1 million for the world's most incredible gaming setup. But why stop there? Build a gaming facility. Create a 10,000 square foot gaming complex with multiple rooms for different gaming types. Racing sim room with full motion simulators, $500,000. VR room with full body haptics, $300,000. Classic arcade with every cabinet ever made, $1 million. Retro gaming room with original hardware, $200,000. PC gaming room with 20 top-tier setups, $500,000. Console gaming room, $200,000. Total facility cost, $5 to $10 million including the building. Then host tournaments, invite pro gamers, create your own esports team, fund them with $10 million annually for salaries, travel, training facilities, and equipment. Become a major player in esports for a $30 to $50 million total investment. Chapter 25. The Pet Situation. Let's talk pets, because rich people have exotic pets, and you could take this to extremes. Want a horse? A championship racehorse costs $1 to $10 million. Buy 10 horses, build a stable, hire trainers and jockeys, enter the horse racing world. Want exotic animals? This gets legally complicated, but where it's legal and ethical, you could create a private sanctuary, build massive naturalistic habitats that exceed zoo standards, employ animal care specialists and veterinarians, create a 100-acre private animal sanctuary focusing on rescue and conservation. Cost, $50 to $100 million for world-class facilities and permanent operation endowment, or just have a lot of dogs. Hire professional dog trainers, have 50 dogs, each with personal trainers. Create a dog paradise. Cost, maybe $1 to $2 million per year. Worth it for the pure joy of being surrounded by well-trained happy dogs. Build a cat cafe, but make it enormous and luxurious. A 5,000 square foot cat paradise with climbing structures, automated feeding systems, and full-time staff. Cost, $2 to $3 million to build, $500,000 per year to operate. Open it to the public for free, just a gift to your city because you love cats. Chapter 26. The Time Purchases. You can't buy time itself, but you can buy things that save time or buy other people's time. Never. Wait in line again. Hire people to wait in lines for you. New iPhone release? Someone's already been waiting 48 hours. Hot new restaurant. Someone got the reservation 6 months ago. Cost. Maybe $100,000 per year for a dedicated line waiting team. Never do chores again. We mentioned staff, but let's be specific. Hire people so you never have to. Do laundry, $30,000 per year for a dedicated laundry specialist. Food shop, $40,000 per year for a personal shopper. Clean anything, $100,000 per year for comprehensive cleaning staff. Do paperwork, $80,000 per year for an administrative assistant. Make phone calls, $50,000 per year for a personal caller who handles all your calls. Send emails, $40,000 per year for an email manager. Wrap presents, $30,000 per year for a professional gift wrapper. Pack for trips, $25,000 per year for a packing specialist. Total, about $400,000 per year to never do mundane tasks again. Learn while you sleep. Hire researchers and educators to create comprehensive learning. Materials. Wake up to custom daily briefings on whatever you want to learn. Cost, $200,000 per year for a team of educators creating personalized learning content. Part 5. The Legacy Projects. Chapter 27. The Monument Complex. Let's talk about leaving a permanent mark on the world through construction. Build a modern pyramid, not in Egypt, somewhere unexpected. A full-scale pyramid in, say, Nebraska. Why? Because you can. Because it would be weird and wonderful, and people would talk about it forever. Cost. A modern pyramid using ancient techniques cost billions. Using modern construction, maybe $100 to $200 million for a smaller pyramid, 200 feet tall instead of 450 like the Great Pyramid. Build a castle. a full medieval-style castle with modern amenities hidden inside. Drawbridge, towers, walls, the whole thing. But inside, Wi-Fi, heated floors, smart home technology. Cost $50 to $100 million for a substantial castle. Create a sculpture park. Commission 100 pieces from contemporary artists. Create a 100-acre sculpture park with incredible works from around the world. Cost $50 to $100 million including land and commissions. Build a massive clock, like the 10,000-year clock being built by the Long Now Foundation, funded by Jeff Bezos with $42 million. Build your own version, a clock designed to tick for 10,000 years, a monument to long-term thinking. Cost $50 to $100 million. Chapter 28. The Knowledge Preservation. Create a modern library of Alexandria, a massive library and research center with physical copies of every significant book, several million volumes, digital archives of all human knowledge, research facilities, public access, programs for literacy and education. Cost $300 to $500 million to build and establish an endowment for perpetual operation, or create a seed vault. We have the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, but you could create a backup, a massive underground facility storing seeds from every crop variety, preserving agricultural diversity. Cost $50 to $100 million. Create a time capsule facility, not a single time capsule, a facility with hundreds of time capsules to be opened at different future dates, 2050, 2100, 2500, 3000, each containing artifacts, data, and messages for the future. Cost $20 to $30 million for a comprehensive facility designed to last millennia. Chapter 29. The Scientific Advancement Fund, a particle accelerator. Okay, the Large Hadron Collider cost $4.75 billion, so that's out. But you could fund a smaller research accelerator for a specific university or research institution. Cost $500 to $800 million for a significant but smaller accelerator, or fund other research infrastructure. A major telescope observatory, $200 to $400 million. A marine research facility, $100 to $200 million. A climate research station in Antarctica, $50 to $100 million. A supercomputer for research, $50 to $100 million. Pick one major scientific facility and fully fund it. Your name is on groundbreaking. Research forever. Or take a different approach, fund prizes. The X Prize Foundation offers prizes for achieving specific technological goals. Create your own prize foundation. Offer $100 million for the first team to develop affordable carbon capture technology. $100 million for sustainable fusion power. $100 million for a cure to a specific disease. Use your money not to do the research yourself, but to incentivize others. Create competitions that drive innovation. Chapter 30. The Environmental Impact. Buy rainforest land and preserve it. Rainforest land in the Amazon costs approximately $500 to $2,000 per acre depending on location. You could buy 500,000 to 2 million acres. That's 781 to 3,125 square miles of rainforest protected forever. Create a massive nature preserve. Hire rangers to protect it. Fund research stations. Total cost $500 million for land, $200 million endowment for perpetual protection, $700 million to save a significant chunk of rainforest. Or focus on ocean conservation, fund marine protected areas, buy fishing rights and retire them, fund coral restoration. The Coral Restoration Foundation operates on a few million per year. You could fund ocean restoration for decades or even centuries with proper endowment structure. Or go for rewilding, buy degraded land in America or Europe and restore it to wild ecosystems, reintroduce native species, remove invasive species, return land to a natural state. Cost $50 to $100 million could restore tens of thousands of acres. Chapter 31. The Personal Island Development. We mentioned buying islands earlier, but let's talk about actually developing one into something incredible. Buy a Caribbean island for $10 to $50 million. Then develop it. Sustainable infrastructure, solar, wind, water treatment. $50 million. Luxury accommodations, $100 million. Recreation facilities, $30 million. Airstrip for private jets, $20 million. Marina, $15 million. Staff housing and facilities, $25 million. Total, $250 to $300 million for a completely developed private island paradise. Make it sustainable and self-sufficient. Desalination plants, renewable energy, organic farming, aquaculture. Create a model for sustainable island living. Use it personally, but also invite researchers studying sustainability. Host artists and writers. Create a residency program. Make it productive and purposeful, not just indulgent. Part 6. The truly absurd chapter. 32. The absolutely ridiculous ideas. Now we're getting into territory that's purely hypothetical and or inadvisable, but theoretically possible. Buy every pizza in a city for a day. Order pizza delivered to every address in a small city, population 50,000. Average $20 per pizza, 50,000 locations, $1 million. Just completely overwhelm a city with free pizza. The chaos would be legendary. Buy a commercial during the Super Bowl and use it to air a ridiculous message. A 30-second Super Bowl ad costs about $7 million. Buy 10 of them. For $70 million. Use them to air progressively more absurd messages. Start normal, get weirder. By the fourth quarter, you're just showing your dog eating pasta or something. America would be baffled. Commission a symphony about yourself. Pay a renowned composer $500,000 to write a full symphony based on your life. Then pay an orchestra $200,000 to perform it. Record it professionally for $100,000. Now there's a symphony about you. That's a level of ego that's almost impressive. Buy every billboard in Times Square for a day. Daily rates for Times Square billboards range from $5,000 to $50,000. Let's say there are 50 major digital billboards. At an average of $25,000 per day, $1.25 million, use them to display absolutely nothing, just blank screens, or one simple message. I spent $1.25 million for this blank space. The internet would lose its mind. Chapter 33. The Social Experiments Fund. Large-scale social experiments that would never get traditional funding. Universal basic. Income test. Give 10,000 people $1,000 per month for 5 years. Study the effects. Total cost, $600 million. The data would be incredibly valuable for understanding UBI's effects on employment, happiness, health, and society. 4-day workweek study. Pay companies to switch to a 4-day workweek and study the effects. $100 million to fund a comprehensive multi-year study across various industries. Free public transportation experiment. Fund free public transit in a mid-sized city for 5 years. Study the effects on traffic, pollution, economic activity, and quality of life. Cost, $300 to $500 million. These experiments could shape public policy for decades. Your money could answer major societal questions. Chapter 34. The record-breaking attempts. Let's set some world records. Largest gathering of people dressed as your favorite character. Rent a stadium, $500,000. Provide costumes, $2 million for 50,000 people. Organize the event, $1 million. Total, $3.5 million for a world record. Largest sculpture made entirely of a specific material. Commission an artist to create the world's largest sculpture made of, say, recycled materials. $5 to $10 million. Longest continuous piano performance. Hire pianists to play in shifts, performing continuously for a year. $1 to $2 million. Most expensive music video ever made. The current record is about $7 to $10 million. Create one that costs $50 million. Make it absolutely insane. Film in space. Use practical effects exclusively. Hire thousands of extras. Make something visually unprecedented. Chapter 35. The information dominance by newspapers and media outlets. Regional newspapers sell for $5 to $50 million. You could buy 20 to 200 newspapers, create a non-profit news network dedicated to investigative journalism, fund it with $500 million, establish an independent editorial board, create the best-funded investigative news organization in the world. No ads, no corporate influence, just deep investigative reporting on issues that matter. Or create a comprehensive fact-checking organization, fund it with $100 million, hire hundreds of fact-checkers, researchers, and experts, create the most thorough fact-checking operation in existence, Make information free and accessible. Fight misinformation with resources that match the scale of the problem. Chapter 36. The Education Revolution. We touched on this, but let's go deeper into specific educational innovations. Create free online education that's actually good. Fund development of comprehensive, high-quality, free online courses across all subjects. Better than anything currently available. Cost $200 million for development, $50 million annually for updates and hosting. Make it completely free. No fees, no subscriptions, no paywalls. Just free, world-class education for anyone with internet access. Fund educational YouTube channels. Give grants to educational creators. $10 million annually in grants to 200 educational creators, $50,000 each. Improve the quality and reach of free educational content across the internet. Create scholarship programs for unconventional paths, full scholarships for trade schools, coding boot camps, art schools, music conservatories, culinary schools. $100 million could fund thousands of scholarships for paths beyond traditional four-year universities. Chapter 37. The Healthcare Interventions Fund free clinics in underserved areas. A well-equipped clinic costs about $2 to $5 million to establish. You could build 200 to 500 free clinics, staff them with physicians, nurses, and specialists, create an endowment for perpetual operation. Total cost, $700 million for clinics, $300 million endowment for operations. Provide free medical care to hundreds of thousands of people annually, forever, or focus on specific conditions. Fund treatment for everyone in a region with a specific disease. Provide free insulin to diabetics in a state. Fund cancer treatments. $100 million could provide a lot of medical care to people who otherwise couldn't afford it. Create a medical research institute focused on neglected tropical diseases. These diseases affect billions but receive little funding because they primarily affect poor populations. $300 million could establish a major research institute making real progress on diseases that are not profitable to cure. Chapter 38. The Artistic Patronage Become a Modern Medici. Fund artists with no strings attached. Create a program giving $50,000 annually to 1,000 artists, $50 million per year. Let them create whatever they want. No requirements, no oversight, just support. Do this for 10 years, $500 million total. You'd fundamentally change the landscape of contemporary art by giving artists freedom to create without financial pressure. Commission major works from renowned artists, $20 to $50 million in commissions. Create art that wouldn't exist without your patronage. Build public art installations in cities that need them. Donate them to the cities. Beautify the world and support artists simultaneously. Chapter 39. The Political Influence Legally. This gets ethically complex, but with $1 billion, you could have significant political influence through legal means. Fund political campaigns within legal limits. The maximum individual contribution to federal candidates is $2,900 per election, but you could contribute to hundreds of campaigns, super PACs, and political organizations. $100 million could fund comprehensive political advocacy for causes you believe in. Fund ballot initiatives. Getting initiatives on state ballots costs $5 to $20 million depending on the state. You could fund initiatives in multiple states simultaneously. Want ranked choice voting, criminal justice reform, environmental protection, fund the ballot measures, or fund lobbying for specific causes. Hire a lobbying firm to advocate for issues you care about. $50 million buys a lot of lobbying. This is controversial, but it's currently legal and part of how policy gets made. Use it for good causes. Chapter 40, The Competitive Advantages. Let's talk about using money to become the best at things. Want to be an Olympic athlete? Hire the best coaches, nutritionists, sports psychologists, and trainers in the world. Build a personal training facility with Olympic standard equipment. Cost $20 to $30 million for facility and staff over 10 years. You still need talent and dedication, but you'd have every possible advantage. Want to become a master chef? Hire Michelin-starred chefs as personal instructors, train in the world's best restaurants, study under the masters. Cost $5 to $10 million over several years. Want to be a concert pianist? Study with the world's best teachers, practice on the finest instruments, perform in the best venues. Money can't buy talent, but it can buy access to the best training, equipment, and opportunities in the world. Part 7. The Final Calculations. Chapter 41. The Realistic Balanced Approach. Okay, we've talked about a lot of insane things, but what if you actually wanted to be reasonable, boring, but responsible? Here's a balanced billion-dollar budget. Immediate personal comfort, $100 million. Primary residence, $20 million. 2 vacation homes, $10 million. Private jet, $30 million. Yacht, $20 million. Car collection, $5 million. Personal staff setup, $5 million. Miscellaneous luxury, $10 million. Long-term investments, $400 million. Diversified stock portfolio, $200 million. Real estate investment portfolio, $100 million. Private equity and venture capital, $100 million. At 7% average annual return, this generates $28 million per year. Charitable foundations, $300 million. Education foundation, $100 million. Healthcare foundation, $100 million. Environmental foundation, $100 million. These create perpetual charitable work through endowment structure. Family security, $100 million. Trust, funds for family members, emergency reserves, estate planning, fund money, $100 million. Whatever you want, no rules, pure enjoyment. This approach gives you extreme luxury while also creating perpetual income, funding important causes, and securing your family's future forever. You generate enough investment income to maintain your lifestyle indefinitely, while the charitable foundations do good work in perpetuity. Chapter 42. The Make More Money Strategy, where you could use your billion to make more billions. Warren Buffett strategy, $1 billion. Invest the entire billion in a diversified portfolio of index funds, $400 million. Blue chip dividend stocks, $300 million. Bonds for stability, $200 million. Cash reserves, $100 million. Live off the returns. At conservative 6% average annual return, $60 million per year. Live on $10 million per year. Extremely comfortable. Reinvest the other $50 million. After 10 years, you'd have approximately $1.7 billion. After 20 years, approximately $3 billion. After 30 years, approximately $5.7 billion. You'd die as a multi-billionaire, assuming you lived that long, and your family would be wealthy for generations. The startup strategy, $1 billion. Invest $500 million into the stock market for security. Use $500 million to start and acquire companies. Start 10 different startups at $20 million each, $200 million. Acquire 10 promising existing companies at $30 million each, $300 million. If even 2 to 3 of the 20 companies become successful, you could 10 times your money. High risk, high reward. You might lose hundreds of millions. Or you might become the next tech titan. The real estate empire, $1 billion. Buy $1 billion in real estate. Commercial properties, $400 million. Residential rental properties, $400 million. Land for development, $200 million. Leverage your properties, get mortgages. With 50% leverage, you control $2 billion in real estate. Rental income could be $80 to $120 million annually, 4 to 6% yield. After mortgage payments, you might net $40 to $60 million per year. Meanwhile, the properties appreciate. Real estate historically appreciates 3 to 4% annually. In 10 years, your properties could be worth $2.6 to $3 billion. Chapter 43. The Legacy Calculation. Let's think about legacy. What actually matters after you're gone? Carnegie built libraries. Rockefeller funded medical research. Nobel created the prizes. These people are remembered centuries later not for their wealth, but for what they did with it. Your $1 billion could, option A, the Carnegie model, build 1,000 libraries in underserved communities at $1 million each, your name on every single one. Hundreds of thousands of people would use these libraries over decades. Your legacy, improving literacy and education for generations. Option B, the Nobel Model Create Prize Foundations with $500 million endowment, annual prizes of $15 to $20 million from endowment returns. 4. Scientific breakthrough, humanitarian achievement, environmental innovation, artistic excellence awarded annually, forever, your name associated with excellence in perpetuity. Option C, the Medical Research Model Fund, a research institute with $700 million. Focus on a specific disease or medical challenge. If the research leads to a cure or major treatment, millions of lives are saved. Your legacy, you helped cure a disease. Option D, the environmental model. Preserve 1 million acres of critical habitat, $500 million, fund perpetual protection, $500 million endowment. Your legacy, you saved ecosystems and species from extinction. Which legacy matters more? That's personal, but $1 billion is enough to create a legacy that lasts centuries. Chapter 44, the happiness research. Here's an interesting question. Would $1 billion actually make you happier? Research on money and happiness shows money increases happiness up to about $75,000 to $95,000 annual income. Beyond that, additional money has diminishing returns on happiness. Experiences bring more happiness than possessions. Giving money away activates pleasure centers in the brain. So, paradoxically, the path to maximum happiness might involve 1. Use $100 million for personal comfort, reaching the point of diminishing returns. 2. Spend $400 million on experiences and relationships. 3. Give away $500 million to causes you care about. The giving might actually make you happier than the spending. Studies on lottery winners show they're not significantly happier long term. Hedonic adaptation is real. You get used to luxury and it becomes normal. But meaningful work, relationships, experiences, and purpose create lasting happiness. So maybe the real answer is use the billion to buy freedom, experiences, and purpose, not just stuff. Chapter 45. The responsibility question. Let's address the elephant in the room, the ethics of having $1 billion. Some argue that having $1 billion while others suffer is inherently immoral. Others argue you earned it, or inherited it, or won it, however it happened, and can do what you want. The philosophical question, what responsibility comes with extreme wealth? The utilitarian argument, your billion could save approximately 100,000 to 200,000 lives if spent on effective interventions like malaria prevention, clean water, and basic health care in developing nations. Is buying a yacht worth more than 100,000 human lives? The property rights argument, it's your money. You have the right to spend it how you want. Forcing you to give it away would be theft. The compromise position, use some for yourself. You're human, enjoy life. Invest some for growth, creating jobs and economic activity, and give away a significant portion to effective causes. This debate has no easy answer, but having $1 billion means you can't avoid the question. Your choices affect other people. That's just reality at this wealth level. Chapter 46, the practical warnings. Before we finish, let's talk about the problems with having $1 billion. Security risks. You become a target. Kidnapping, theft, scams, lawsuits. You need serious security, which is expensive and invasive. Relationship problems. Everyone wants something. True friends are hard to identify. Romantic relationships become complicated. Family dynamics change. Isolation. You can't relate to normal experiences anymore. Your problems are different. This creates social isolation. Decision paralysis. Too many options can be overwhelming. When you can do anything, choosing becomes harder. Pressure. People expect you to solve problems, fund things, help everyone. The requests never stop. Loss of privacy. At this wealth level, you're probably somewhat public. Privacy becomes difficult, meaning crisis. When money isn't a concern, finding purpose becomes harder. What drives you when you can buy almost anything? These aren't reasons not to have $1 billion, but they're real issues that come with extreme wealth. Chapter 47. The compound effects. Let's talk about what happens over time with $1 billion properly invested. Year 1, $1 billion, generating $70 million in returns, 7% average. Spend $20 million, reinvest $50 million. End of year, $1.05 billion. Year 5, $1.276 billion. Year 10, $1.7 billion. Year 20, $3.14 billion. Year 30, $5.8 billion. Without even trying very hard, just through conservative investment and moderate spending, you could die as a multi-billionaire. Your children would inherit billions. Their children would inherit billions. You're creating a dynasty. This is how generational wealth works. This is how families stay wealthy for centuries. Chapter 48, The Alternatives Perspective. Let's put $1 billion in perspective by comparing it to what it could do versus what it typically does. What $1 billion typically does: buys a luxury yacht that sits unused 90% of the time, sits in investments, making the rich person richer, gets used for tax avoidance strategies, eventually passes to heirs who didn't earn it. What $1 billion could do: provide clean water to 10 million people, fund education for 50,000 students through university, save 100,000 lives through medical interventions, preserve 1 million acres of critical habitat, fund research that could cure diseases, create thousands of jobs through new businesses, build infrastructure that serves communities for generations. The same money, vastly different outcomes. The choice of how to use it reflects your values and priorities. Conclusion. Chapter 49, The Reality Check. Let's bring this back to Earth. You don't have $1 billion. You're probably not going to get $1 billion, and that's actually fine. We've spent 20,000 words exploring the hypothetical, the absurd, and the genuinely possible things you could do with that amount of money. We've bought countries, built pyramids, funded space programs, saved lives, collected dinosaur bones, and commissioned symphonies about ourselves. But here's the truth. Money at this scale is almost incomprehensible. It's hard to wrap your mind around the sheer magnitude of what $1 billion actually represents. To put it in the most relatable terms possible, if you spent $1,000 every single day, it would take you 2,739 years to spend $1 billion. We're talking from ancient Rome to now, from Julius Caesar to the iPhone. That's how long it would take. And we've seen that you could buy luxury beyond what one person could ever use, create businesses and investments that would make you even wealthier, fund causes that would save hundreds of thousands of lives, build monuments that would last millennia, create educational institutions that would serve generations, preserve environments for centuries, commission art that would outlive nations. Start your own country, literally. Go to space multiple times. Never work another day, but still generate tens of millions annually. Chapter 50, The Final Thoughts. So what have we learned from this thought experiment? First, $1 billion is an almost absurd amount of money. The things you can do with it range from the reasonable to the ridiculous, from the beneficial to the bizarre. You could be supremely selfish or extraordinarily generous or anything in between. Second, at this level of wealth, you're not just buying things, you're shaping reality. You're not asking, can I afford this? You're asking, should this exist? You become a force that changes the world simply by existing and making choices. Third, the real question isn't what can you buy? The real question is, what kind of person are you? Because the same $1 billion could buy you a life of meaningless luxury that brings temporary pleasure but no lasting fulfillment, create a legacy that improves millions of lives for generations, build businesses that employ thousands and create value, fund research that advances human knowledge. All of the above in some combination. Your character determines what you do with the money, not the other way around. Fourth, having $1 billion doesn't solve the fundamental questions of human existence. It doesn't tell you what's meaningful, who to love, what to create, or how to find purpose. It just gives you resources to pursue whatever answers you find. And finally, this entire exercise reveals something important. We live in a world where some people actually have this kind of wealth, and their choices affect all of us. When billionaires buy yachts instead of funding malaria prevention, that's a choice that has consequences. when they invest in vanity space projects instead of climate solutions, that matters. When they hoard wealth instead of creating opportunities, we all feel the effects. But equally, when billionaires fund medical research, start innovative companies, preserve environments, or support education, that creates real positive change. The same amount of money, completely different outcomes. Chapter 51. The Perspective. Shift. Here's what's maybe most important. You don't need $1 billion to apply the lessons from this thought experiment. The core question isn't, what would you do with $1 billion? It's, what are you doing with what you have? Whatever money you have access to, whether it's $100, $1,000, or $100,000, you face the same basic choices. Spend it all on yourself, invest it to grow, use it to help others. Some combination of the three. The scale is different, but the question is the same. What kind of impact do you want to have? You can be generous with $100. You can be selfish with $100 million. The amount doesn't determine the character determines what you do with the amount. So while we've had fun imagining buying private islands, building pyramids, and commissioning dinosaur skeleton museums, the real takeaway is this. Use what you have intentionally. Make choices that align with your values. Think about impact, not just consumption. Find the balance between enjoying life, securing your future, and making a difference. Whether you have $1,000 or $1 billion, that framework applies. Chapter 52. The Psychology of Sudden Wealth. Let's talk about what would actually happen to your brain if you suddenly acquired $1 billion, because the psychological effects are fascinating and often devastating. There's a documented phenomenon called sudden wealth syndrome that affects lottery winners, inheritance recipients, and anyone who suddenly comes into massive amounts of money. The symptoms include guilt, especially if others around you are struggling, anxiety about losing the money, making wrong decisions, being targeted, paranoia. Everyone wants something from you, identity. Crisis. Who are you if not defined by your work or financial struggles? Social isolation. Your old friends can't relate. New friends might be fake decision paralysis. Too many choices. Fear of making mistakes. Studies of lottery winners show that within 3 to 5 years, most are no happier than before winning, and many are actually less happy. Some are bankrupt. Many have destroyed relationships. A disturbing number have had their lives genuinely ruined by sudden wealth. Why? Because money doesn't change who you are fundamentally. If you were bad with money before, you'll be bad with more money. If you had relationship problems, they'll intensify. If you lacked purpose, you'll still lack purpose. You'll just lack it in a mansion. The people who handle sudden wealth well typically have a clear value system before the money arrives. They know what matters to them, so wealth doesn't distort their priorities. Maintain meaningful relationships. They keep the people who loved them before the money and are cautious about new connections. Find purpose beyond consumption. They create businesses, fund causes, build things. They use money as a tool for meaningful work, not as a replacement for it. Set clear boundaries. They say no to requests. They don't try to solve everyone's problems. They recognize they can't save the world single-handedly. Invest in experiences over possessions. Research consistently shows experiences bring more lasting happiness than material goods. So if you did get $1 billion, the first thing you should probably do is nothing. Sit with it. Process it. Talk to a therapist. And yes, ultra-wealthy people need therapy, maybe more than anyone. Make no major decisions for 6 to 12 months. Let the reality sink in before you start buying countries and building pyramids. Chapter 53. The Hidden Costs. Nobody mentions we've talked about what you can buy, but let's discuss what you can't avoid. The hidden costs of extreme wealth. Staff management. Remember those dozens of employees we mentioned? You're now managing a small company. That's a job. You need to hire well, set expectations, handle conflicts, process payroll, deal with HR issues. Your personal chef and your driver had an argument? That's your problem now. Your house staff want raises. You're negotiating. Someone's not performing well. You're firing people. This isn't passive. Managing staff takes time, energy, and emotional labor. Maintenance. Everything. That yacht requires constant maintenance even when docked. The private jet, FAA, regulations, inspection schedules, maintenance logs, the car collection, climate-controlled storage, regular starts to keep engines healthy, insurance for each vehicle. Every property needs upkeep. Every piece of expensive art needs proper environmental controls. Every rare book needs preservation. You're not just buying things, you're buying permanent maintenance obligations. Tax. Complexity. Your taxes are now so complex you need a team of accountants and tax attorneys. You're dealing with property taxes in multiple jurisdictions, capital gain strategies, estate planning, international tax implications if you own property abroad. Tax preparation might cost $500,000 plus annually, and you have to spend time in meetings understanding and approving strategies. Legal exposure. At this wealth level, you're a lawsuit magnet. Slip and fall on your property? Lawsuit. Business deal goes wrong? Lawsuit. Someone thinks you defamed them? Lawsuit. You need lawyers on retainer, liability insurance with massive coverage, and you have to be constantly aware that any mistake could cost millions. The request economy. Every day brings requests for money. Charities, family members, friends, acquaintances, strangers with sob stories or business proposals. You'll receive hundreds of requests weekly. Each one requires a decision. Ignore it, delegate it, investigate it, respond to it. The emotional labor of constantly saying no, or worse, trying to say yes to worthy causes and making those decisions, is exhausting. Security concerns, kidnapping insurance, background checks on everyone who enters your home, secure communications, varying your routines to avoid predictability. You can't casually post on social media anymore. That vacation photo reveals you're away from home. You can't tell strangers your real name. Your kids, if you have them, need protection. Living with constant security awareness is mentally draining. Relationship authenticity. You'll always wonder, do people like you or your money? Is this person genuinely interested, or do they want access to your wealth? This isn't paranoia, it's realistic assessment. Many people will be nice to you because of your money. Distinguishing genuine connection from opportunism becomes a constant background calculation. The complexity tax. Every decision has more options. Want to go on vacation? You could go anywhere, stay anywhere, do anything. That sounds great until you're paralyzed by infinite choices. Simple decisions become complex. Should you fly commercial, mixing with people, or private, isolation but convenience? Should you stay in a hotel, service but public, or your vacation home, private but you need to manage staff? More options doesn't always mean better outcomes. Sometimes it just means more time spent deciding. Chapter 54, The Generational Wealth Question. Let's talk about one of the biggest decisions you'd face. What happens to this wealth when you die? The average billionaire in America leaves their wealth as follows: 50 to 60% to heirs, 20 to 30% to charitable foundations, 10 to 20% to taxes, despite best efforts to minimize, remainder to various other purposes. But is this wise? Let's explore the options. Option A, leave it all to your kids. Pros: ensures family security for generations, allows your descendants to live without financial stress, creates opportunity for your grandchildren and beyond. Cons: research shows inherited wealth often fails by the third generation. Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. Your kids might never develop work ethic or purpose, creates entitled, disconnected descendants. Family wealth can cause more problems than it solves. See every wealthy family drama ever. Option B, give them enough to do anything, not enough to do nothing. Warren Buffett's approach: leave your kids enough that they can pursue any career or passion, but not so much they don't need to work. Maybe $5 to $10 million each, enough for security, education, a home, startup capital, not enough to live lavishly without working. Use the remaining $900+ million for charity or other purposes. Option C, make them earn it. Create trusts with conditions. They get distributions based on educational achievements, career accomplishments, charitable work, meeting specific milestones. This attempts to incentivize good behavior, though it can also create resentment and psychological issues. Option D, give it all away. The giving pledge approach. Gates, Buffett, etc. Commit to giving away the majority of wealth to charity. Leave your kids comfortable, but not wealthy. Use the billion to address major world problems. Your legacy becomes what you solved, not what you left behind. The honest reality: there's no perfect answer. Each approach has trade-offs. But here's what research tells us. Giving adult children sudden access to massive wealth usually goes poorly. Structured trusts with gradual distribution work better than lump sums. Involving children in philanthropy teaches them responsibility and purpose. Clear communication about wealth and expectations reduces family conflict. Professional family office management helps, but costs $5 to $10 million annually. The hardest truth? Your $1 billion could easily ruin your children's lives if handled poorly. Wealth without purpose often leads to addiction, depression, and dysfunction. So, the decision about inheritance isn't just financial, it's deeply about what kind of people you want your descendants to become. Chapter 55. The Alternate Reality Scenarios. Let's have some fun with alternate scenarios of how you acquired this $1 billion, because the source might change how you spend it. Scenario 1. You invented something revolutionary. You created genuinely valuable technology, or IP. You earned this through innovation. In this case, you probably have ongoing business interests. Your billion isn't static, it's tied to a company. Your decisions about spending affect your business, your employees, your shareholders. You can't just cash out everything without consequences. You have responsibilities beyond yourself. The spending approach, more conservative. Maintain stake in your company. Use wealth to fund R&D and expansion. Personal spending is modest relative to business investment. Scenario 2. You won the lottery. Pure chance. You didn't earn it, you got lucky. Psychologically, this might make you more willing to spend freely, you didn't work for it, or more cautious. You know how easily it could disappear. Lottery winners often struggle with guilt. Why me? And with requests from others who feel entitled to share the luck. The spending approach, probably more volatile. Some lottery winners spend recklessly and lose it all. Others become extremely conservative. Very few find the middle ground. Scenario 3. You inherited it. Family wealth passed down. You didn't earn it, but you were raised around it. You probably have different psychology than sudden wealth recipients. You've seen how wealth works, understand its management, but might also take it for granted. You might feel obligation to preserve it for the next generation, or you might feel trapped by family expectations. The spending approach, more likely to follow family patterns. If your family was philanthropic, you probably will be. If they were ostentatious, you might be too. Scenario 4. You built a business over decades. You slowly grew a company from nothing to a $1 billion exit. This wealth came with sacrifice, years of 80-hour weeks, stress, risk, delayed gratification. You probably have strong opinions about money, work ethic, and value. You might be more conservative with spending because you remember what it took to build wealth. The spending approach, likely modest personal spending but aggressive business investment, probably interested in mentoring entrepreneurs and funding startups. Scenario 5. Illegal activities. Let's be hypothetical. You acquired this through crime. We're not recommending this, obviously. The psychology would be complex. Guilt, fear of legal consequences, paranoia, but also potentially grandiosity. Your spending would be limited by money laundering concerns. You can't just buy a $100 million yacht without explaining the source of funds. The spending approach, cash businesses, international property in countries with weak banking oversight, art and collectibles, easier to hide value, lots of legal fees. Each scenario creates different psychological relationships with money and different spending patterns. Chapter 56. The Practical Year 1 Plan. Okay, let's get tactical. You wake up tomorrow with $1 billion in your account. What should you actually do? Here's a realistic Year 1 plan. Month 1, do nothing major. Hire a therapist experienced with sudden wealth. Hire a reputable wealth management firm. Interview multiple. Check references. Hire a top-tier attorney. Tell absolutely no one except your spouse/partner, if you have one. Continue your normal life as much as possible. Process the psychological impact month 2 to 3. Assemble your team. Wealth manager to handle investments, tax attorney and accountants, estate planning attorney, personal security consultant, insurance broker for high net worth policies. Consider a family office setup if appropriate month 4 to 6. Create structure, establish trusts for estate planning, diversify investments, don't keep $1 billion in one account, set up charitable structures if desired, Create a written personal plan for how you want to use the wealth. Develop policies for how you'll handle requests for money, month 7 to 9. Begin modest changes. Buy a nice but not ostentatious primary residence, $5 to $10 million. Upgrade your car to something nice but reasonable, $100 to $200,000. Pay off any debts. Set up trust funds for children if applicable. Take a nice vacation to process and plan month 10 to 12. Start long-term projects. Begin charitable giving based on your plan. Make business investments if interested. Consider larger purchases, vacation homes, etc. Now that you've had time to think, establish routines and systems for managing wealth long-term total year 1 spending, $50 to $100 million maximum. This leaves $900 to $950 million invested and growing. You've dramatically improved your life without making impulsive decisions you'll regret. Chapter 57. The Ethical Frameworks. Let's examine different ethical frameworks for thinking about extreme wealth. Utilitarianism. Maximum good for maximum people. Under utilitarian ethics, you should use your billion to create the most happiness / reduce the most suffering. This probably means keeping just enough for reasonable personal comfort, $10 to $20 million, giving away $980 to $990 million to the most effective interventions, funding malaria nets, clean water, basic health care in developing nations creates dramatically more utility than buying yachts. Under strict utilitarianism, almost any personal luxury spending is indefensible when that money could save lives. Libertarian, property rights. Under libertarian ethics, it's your money. You have absolute right to spend it however you want. Nobody has a claim on your wealth. Giving to charity is admirable but optional. You earned it or acquired it legally, and what you do with it is your business. This framework supports any spending choice, from maximum selfishness to maximum generosity, as long as it's voluntary. Virtue ethics. What would a good person do? Aristotle would ask, what spending pattern represents the golden mean between miserliness and wastefulness? A virtuous person would enjoy reasonable pleasures without excess, support family and friends appropriately, contribute to society's well-being, use wealth for meaningful purposes, avoid both hoarding and reckless spending. This suggests a balanced approach, some personal enjoyment, some family security, significant charitable giving, investment in productive enterprises. Religious frameworks. Different religions offer different guidance. Christianity generally emphasizes stewardship. You're managing God's resources, not your own. Modest living and generous giving are virtuous. Buddhism would suggest that attachment to wealth causes suffering. Use it for good, but don't let it define you. Islam has mandatory charitable giving, zakat, of 2.5% of wealth annually, plus encourages additional charity. Judaism emphasizes tzedakah, charitable giving, as an obligation, with different recommended percentages. Each framework leads to different conclusions about how to use $1 billion. Chapter 58. The Final Thoughts. We've now spent over 24,000 words exploring every conceivable angle of what you could do with $1 billion. We've covered the practical, investment strategies, real estate, the indulgent, yachts, private jets, personal islands, the impactful, charitable work, medical research, education, the absurd, 500 submarines, pyramid in Nebraska, the psychological, sudden wealth syndrome, relationship dynamics, the ethical, competing, frameworks for thinking about wealth, the strategic, year 1 plans, generational wealth. And here's what it all comes down to. $1 billion is a tool. Like any tool, it can be used well or poorly, for creation or destruction, for selfishness or generosity. Having it doesn't make you happy, smart, fulfilled, or good. It just gives you more options for pursuing happiness, demonstrating intelligence, finding fulfillment, or doing good. The same billion can buy a yacht that sits unused while people die of preventable diseases, fund research that cures those diseases, create businesses that employ thousands, sit in an account doing nothing, all of the above in some combination. Your character, values, and choices determine the outcome, not the dollar amount. And perhaps most importantly, you don't need $1 billion to make these kinds of choices in your own life, at your own scale. Whether you have $100 or $100 million, you face the same fundamental questions. How much is enough for me? How do I balance personal enjoyment with responsibility to others? What kind of impact do I want to have? What will I regret not doing? What kind of person do I want to be? The billion-dollar thought experiment is really just a way to explore these questions in extreme form. So thanks for taking this journey through the absurd, the practical, the generous, and the ridiculous world of having changed the world money. Now go forth and apply these principles to whatever money you actually have, and if you do somehow end up with $1 billion, maybe send some submarines my way. Chapter 59. What actually happens to billionaires? Let's talk about what actually happens to real billionaires, because the reality is often stranger than our hypotheticals. The Elon Musk pattern: reinvest everything. Some billionaires immediately reinvest their wealth into increasingly ambitious projects. Musk took his PayPal money and dumped it into SpaceX, and Tesla, nearly going bankrupt multiple times. This pattern looks like minimal personal spending, relatively speaking, living in surprisingly modest conditions, obsessive focus on specific missions or goals, willingness to risk everything repeatedly, net worth fluctuating wildly based on company performance. These billionaires treat wealth as rocket fuel for their ambitions, not as a destination. The $1 billion is just the starting point for even bigger swings. The Bezos arc: build an empire, then explore others. Build massive businesses first, then diversify into passion projects later. Bezos built Amazon for decades before seriously pursuing Blue Origin and other interests. This pattern: intense focus on one business initially, delayed gratification on personal interests, eventually branching into multiple domains, increasing personal spending as wealth grows exponentially, transitioning from builder to investor/patron. The billion becomes 10 billion, then 100 billion, and suddenly you're funding space companies and buying newspapers as side projects. The Buffett approach: live modestly, give away later. Warren Buffett still lives in the house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. He's worth over $100 billion, but lives like an upper-middle-class retiree. This pattern: extreme disconnect between net worth and lifestyle, finding satisfaction in the game of investing itself, viewing wealth as scorekeeping, not for spending, planning to give away the vast majority, living by principles established before wealth arrived. The $1 billion becomes $100 billion, but your daily life barely changes. The Kardashian model: wealth as brand. Some billionaires make their wealth inseparable from their public image. The wealth becomes part of the product they're selling. This pattern: conspicuous consumption as marketing, lifestyle as content, wealth generating more wealth through publicity, blurred lines between personal and business spending, building empire through personal brand. The billion is simultaneously personal wealth and business investment. That $100 million mansion is also a filming location and brand statement. Chapter 60. The uncomfortable truths. Let's end with some uncomfortable truths about billionaire-level wealth. Truth 1. It's almost impossible to spend. Even trying to spend $1 billion is remarkably difficult. The most expensive yacht is $600 million. The most expensive house ever sold was $238 million. The most expensive painting was $450 million. You'd have to work hard at spending to actually deplete $1 billion, especially since it's generating tens of millions annually in returns. This is why billionaires keep getting richer even when they're spending lavishly. The money reproduces faster than they can spend it. Truth 2. It separates you from normal human experience. There's a famous quote: anyone who thinks they can relate to the middle class is absolutely fucking delusional. When you can solve any material problem with money, you lose touch with what most humans deal with daily. You can't understand mortgage stress, medical bankruptcy, or choosing between rent and food. This isn't a moral judgment. It's just reality. Your experience of life becomes fundamentally different, and that creates an empathy gap that's difficult to bridge. Truth 3. It doesn't buy meaning. Every billionaire interview eventually reveals the same thing. The money didn't solve the fundamental questions of existence. They still struggle with: what's my purpose? Am I loved for who I am? What will I be remembered for? What actually matters? How do I find fulfillment? The $1 billion bought security, comfort, opportunity, and freedom. It didn't buy answers to the questions that keep humans up at night. Truth 4. It creates moral obligations whether you want them or not. Once you have $1 billion, you can't escape the moral weight of your choices. Every dollar you spend on luxury is a dollar not spent saving lives, funding research, or addressing problems. You can philosophically argue you don't have obligations to strangers, but you can't escape the mathematical reality. Your spending choices have life or death consequences for others. Some billionaires embrace this responsibility, others ignore it, but none can honestly claim it doesn't exist. Truth 5. Your children's lives will be complicated. Every billionaire parent worries about how wealth will affect their children. The concerns are legitimate. Will they develop work ethic? Will they find purpose? Will they be kidnapping targets? Will they know who really likes them? Will they resent the pressure and expectations? Will they squander the wealth? There's no perfect solution. Every approach has downsides. Your $1 billion creates problems for your descendants that they wouldn't otherwise face. Chapter 61. The Last Word. So we've reached the end of our 25,000 plus word journey through the world of billion-dollar possibilities. We've bought islands and countries, built pyramids and castles, funded cures and schools, collected art and dinosaurs, commissioned symphonies and submarines, explored space and the depths of the ocean, and contemplated everything from the practical to the preposterous. And if there's one final takeaway from all of this, it's this: $1 billion gives you almost unlimited power to shape your external reality, but absolutely no power to escape your internal reality. You can buy the most beautiful homes, but you still have to live with yourself inside them. You can surround yourself with people, but you'll still face loneliness if you can't form genuine connections. You can fund medical research, but you'll still eventually die. You can create legacies, but you won't be around to see most of their impact. You can buy every toy, take every trip, eat every delicacy, and own every treasure, but you'll still wake up each morning with the same fundamental human questions. What am I doing? Does it matter? Am I happy? The money is powerful, but it's not magic. It's a tool that amplifies who you already are. If you're generous, it makes you more generous. If you're selfish, it makes you more selfish. If you're purposeful, it accelerates your purpose. If you're aimless, it just makes your aimlessness more expensive. So the real question was never, what would you do with $1 billion? The real question is, who are you and what do you care about? Figure that out, and you'll know exactly what you do with the money. And you'll probably also realize you can start living by those values right now with whatever resources you currently have. Because at the end of the day, the best use of $1 billion is probably the same as the best use of $1,000 or $10. Use it in a way that you'll be proud of when you look back. That helps more than it hurts. That creates more than it consumes. And that makes your corner of the world slightly better than you found it. Whether that corner is a private island or a studio apartment doesn't really matter. What matters is what you do there. So there you have it. 20,000 words exploring what you could do with $1 billion. We've covered real estate empires spanning countries, transportation options that would make oligarchs jealous, experiences that would fill multiple lifetimes, charitable impacts that could save hundreds of thousands of lives, legacy projects that would outlast civilizations, the ridiculous, the sublime, and everything in between. You've mentally spent $1 billion in every conceivable way, from buying small nations to funding malaria nets, from commissioning personal symphonies to building libraries. And now you can return to your regular life, perhaps with a slightly better understanding of just how absurdly wealthy some people actually are, and maybe with some thoughts about what you'd do if you ever found yourself with change the world money. Because ultimately, that's what $1 billion is, the power to change the world, for better or worse. How you'd use it says everything about who you are. Thanks for joining me on this thought experiment. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go figure out how to actually get $1 billion so I can buy those 500 submarines I mentioned. Just kidding. Mostly.